Hey everybody, welcome back to another month of Cat Chat. Ron loved us so much, he's back again for another month.
Here I am. Thanks again for having me, Jenna.
Hey, no problem. Ron, this is my show just as much as it is yours.
Well, I guess that is true. It's a team effort.
Absolutely. So Ron is with us for the beginning of the show. Chris is going to be with us later for the featured alumni segment. I can't get it out. So the whole cast of our hosts are going to be here with us for this edition of Cat Chat. So let's get right into our high five highlights.
Perfect.
We got to shout out Miss Kyrie Manawis. She was our Instagram high five cat swag winner. So good job, Kyrie.
Congratulations. Nicely done.
Don't forget, y'all, you can win this every single month we give this out. So this is a fully stocked cat swag bag full of all your favorite Wildcat goodies, just for sending us the high five highlights in an Instagram direct message.
That's very nice. I've seen them. Very nice. I definitely recommend getting your information in. Try to win one.
You probably want one too, Ron.
I've got some stashed, but I'm not allowed to wear them, so I'll keep it away.
All right, Ron, who you got in our high five highlights?
Well, our first one, we want to really give a shout out to our Springfield High School mock trial team.
They are killing it.
They are on a roll, led by Katie Osborne
Yes.
and her expertise as an attorney. They are just in there doing their thing and running through all the other trials and other teams that we're going up against there. So definitely give them a high five for this round.
Yes. If you guys have never watched mock trial, it's like a combination of teaching the kids about the practice of law, right? But they also kind of throw in a little bit of acting, a little bit of theater. So it's really entertaining to watch. I really like attending some of their trials.
It really is. And if you follow us on all of our social media platforms to see the pictures and see them with their awards. So yeah, they're doing a great job over there.
Yeah. High five to the mock
Most
trial
definitely.
team.
We don't have a clapper thing. I don't know what. Yeah, we'll get it for the next time. Sorry. Maybe next time.
High five to the mock trial team. Next on our list, happy birthday to Roosevelt.
Yes, I'm not singing, but yes, happy birthday, Roosevelt. 100th birthday.
100th
Yes.
birthday.
And I hear they're planning a pretty nice celebration for that too.
Yes, yes. I know. I've seen some people on social media. Y'all are trying to get a little smart, and you're like, that building's not 100. We know. Okay, it's not the building. It's the building. Namesake of Roosevelt Middle School or Roosevelt Junior High School, as some of you remember, turns 100 this year. So they first opened their doors in 1924.
1924. That was about the year before I was born.
Great.
They're doing a great job over there too, and
Yes.
I know they're really excited about celebrating this 100th birthday over there.
Yes, gonna have some guest speakers come in and talk to the kids. Just kind of reminisce about their time at Roosevelt. So it should be a good time.
Should be. Looking forward to that.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Snow Hill. Just have fun kind of class experience. They brought in the Clark County Farm Bureau, and they did an ag in the classroom lesson for the third graders at Snow Hill.
Excellent.
Brought in some baby piggies.
Oh, okay.
And just kind of gave them a new experience with something that they're not familiar with. Talking about the importance of agricultural, my goodness, agriculture.
You got it.
Farming, and how, that plays a role in our everyday life. So that was really cool to see. The kids obviously had a good time with the farm animals and things like that.
Well, that's one of the things I'm really excited about with the district is that we're bringing in so many different experiences that our students are not typically exposed to. So this is one that you got to give them a big high five for that one there over at their school, Snow Hill.
Yes, good job, Snow Hill.
Great job. So I'm going to throw one out there for the middle school GPA for our student athletes over there. For those of you who have been a student athlete, you know how difficult it can be in the classroom and participating in sports. So we are the GPA champs.
Yes, so each season, middle school athletics chooses the team in that season who has the highest GPA. And this is really to help encourage the kids, hey, That's great if you're an all-star on the court,
Mhm.
but we also want you to keep that expectation in the classroom. So this season in the winter, it was the cheerleaders.
Wonderful.
So,
Wonderful. Go get them, cheerleaders.
I know they got a cumulative, I think it was 3.45 for the cheerleaders.
Wonderful.
So they were the highest of the winter athletes for middle school.
Well, they call them student athletes for a reason.
That's
You have
correct.
to be in the classroom and get that done. So you have to give them a really big high five for that one there, because that's a lot of work to go into on top of all the practices and being at the games and anything else that a middle schooler has to do outside
Yes.
of cheering. So
Yes.
congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. And our last high five is for our little cats, as we like to call them, our
Cats.
little cats, our baby preschoolers.
Mhm.
So the Springfield Museum of Art just opened up a new renovated wing of the museum, and our little cats over at Clark Preschool helped the museum to open up that new wing by exhibiting how that wing can be used. So when they had their kind of grand opening, the preschoolers were over there and they were doing some crafts, doing some painting, and really helping them to showcase, hey, here's how we want to utilize this space going forward. So they have a wonderful partnership with our kids anyway, helping them do art throughout the building.
Yeah.
So that was a good opportunity for our little cats.
Well, again, you can't get them exposed early enough to different activities throughout the city. And again, this is one that, as a little person, they get the opportunity to go in and do their paintings and see all the arts. Congratulations to them too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So don't forget, y'all, this is such an easy opportunity. All you have to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, send them to me at SCSD OH on Instagram in a direct message, and the cat swag bag is all yours.
All yours. So get it in. Get a chance to win.
Yes, absolutely. All right, who do we have on tap today for our podcast?
So we've got a really busy day today.
Yes.
And some really important information too. So we're going to have Dr. Chiga, who is with the Rocking Horse Center, and Dr. Hill. They're going to talk about the new school-based health clinic that's going up at the high school.
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge project for our district, you guys. So make sure you tap into that. Also, some resources on our website that you can check out after you watch this segment. We also have Dr. Karlos Marshall
We do.
for our featured alumni doing some big things with Conscious Connect, his organization. Chris is going to be talking with him more about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have some wonderful students over at the School of Innovation.
You get to talk to them about all the good things they have going over there. That's pretty exciting.
Yes, they are fantastic. They're going to talk about all of the different programming that's available for School of Innovation students, and how that's really helped to propel some of their futures, and just really how that's opened some doors for them as individuals, but for the school too. So I think that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware of the School of Innovation, you're going to get to learn a lot today, but we're going to have a lot more down the road about some of the great things we're doing over there too. So yeah, looking forward to all the segments there. Some really good information for all of our families and those in the district.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get right into it.
All right.
Welcome to Cat Chat on our Cat Den happenings. Obviously, I am joined by a cast of special guests today. These are all students and Mr. Perrine, a teacher at SOI. And I'm just going to have them kind of introduce themselves. Guys, why don't you tell me your name and your grade? And then Mr. Perrine, tell me what you teach at SOI.
All right, my name is Makai Steiger. I'm a junior at SOI, and so I've been there for 3 years, and so far I've loved it. I love it.
Hi, my name is Leland. I've been here for 3 years as well, junior, and
My name is Nicholas, and I am a senior at School of Innovation. So I've been there 4 years.
I'm Mr. Perrine, or most students call me Mr. Matt. Currently, I'm teaching the unmanned safety, the unmanned aerial systems course, which is a drone course, as well as physical geology and world studies.
Fantastic. So we really wanted to invite all of these guys here today because SOI has added a ton of programming over the past couple of years. If I could go down them all really quickly, carpentry, welding, like Matt said, unmanned aerial systems, some drones, phlebotomy, patient care, really a lot of opportunities for kids to kind of expand their horizons. I've gotten to know each of them through some of these programs, which has been really cool to kind of see them come into their own. So I really want to open it up to our guests here to kind of talk about the programs that they've gotten to explore a little bit, and just talk about why that program. So tell me what program at SOI you got into, and what you liked about it. So Leland, why don't you start?
Alright, so I'm in a couple different programs here at School of Innovation. I do drone, I did carpentry, and I think that's the main two that I did.
Mhm.
I'm also in I'm the president of the Lighthouse group,
Nice.
which is Lighthouse is a group of students that was chosen by the staff, and what we do here is we this is not good.
Try and
Student voice is the main thing we focus on here.
Mhm.
And what we mean by that is we go talk to the other students and we relay what they want to get done at the school. And then we move forward to that. Right now we're focusing on
the library.
library. And
Trying to get that.
I did carpentry for a year, which it does deal with a lot of math and things like that, but
Mhm.
it's basic math and once you get used to it, it's pretty fun.
Had you done any sort of carpentry before you got involved in that
I
program?
have not.
So tell me what kind of projects you worked on.
We started off building just a simple box, and then we progressively moved up. We ended up building a birdhouse and then a chair, and we kind of went from there.
Nice. And then it seems like, just from my experience with you, you really seem to latch on to the drone program.
Yes, it's
Like,
one of
you
my
have a real
favorite
passion for
programs.
So tell me about it, just from start to where you are now in the drone program.
All right, so beginning, I had no interaction with drones whatsoever, but when I actually got into it, I was in there with Matt. We sat down. We had this whole coursework thing we need to get finished. But we had to fly every single Friday.
Mhm.
Sometimes I wasn't there, sometimes I was. It was one of the best things to do. But most of it for the first year is just coursework. But it's a weed out course, and you can, once you get past, you get into more flying and more hands-on involved.
And so, just like carpentry, I mean, you had no experience flying drones coming into it. And now, as I've seen you fly, you know all of the mechanics, you know how to get it operational, and you can do some pretty advanced movements.
It's more of a practicing thing. When I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I think I ended up crashing a couple times.
Sure.
But
As everyone would.
once I got up to it, it got more easier to do and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Okay, what about you?
I remember
A bingo card man.
Yeah.
You've done it all.
I'm super new at SOI. I thought, I think that I've been in welding, patient care, and then phlebotomy. My favorite out of one of those is probably the phlebotomy because that was probably one of my best experiences with the sticks. We take blood pressure sticks. We what phlebotomists do, but we aren't doing real arms. What we do is we take them, we learn put at a 45-degree angle, then we stick it in. But if they're on fake arms, we need to get permission to do people. We need 21 people at SOI, kids or students or staff. Mr. Prine, if you want some of your blood, you are. At welding though, I remember there's an eagle. If you go to SOI and you look at the
display case.
The display case, yeah. If you look at there's an eagle, which has carpentry birdhouses, and then the crystals. There's crystals that we made, that we welded as well. But in the patient care, that's typically you want to look at the Masonic home, with the elderly, learn about the beds, permission, HIPAA violations, all of that.
So you're learning a lot of the back end information with those careers too, in addition to the practical things about how to do things.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Today we was learning about the HIPAA violations in OSHA, there's different kind of tubes, and when you're like taking or not when you're like going to get your blood drawn, there's like types of consent that they have to give you. You have to know all about that. You have to know the colors of the tubes. There's like white, red, blue. You have to like have the right person identity. There's something called an accession number. Yeah, do think the phlebotomy is my favorite so far.
Yeah, I think that's been really cool to see that kind of come into its own there, just because it's so practical, right? Like there's always going to be a need for medical careers. So I think it's kind of cool to see you guys get your feet wet in that early.
Even if you guys don't end up picking or going into that field that you chose, you can still take the practical skills from that and move it one to the next.
For
Yeah.
sure.
To a different
Very good.
type of job.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Whoever can figure out how to make the wires in like a room of like a hospital room, like just like one wire or something, they'll become a billionaire because like there's too many wires. I remember in patient care, we went to the Mercy Springfield Health Hospital. We looked in there and we was looking at blood cells. Immunologist has to do with immunity. Saw white blood cells. Saw a blood bank, which is usually what phlebotomists would have to manage. But we also saw a severed foot, which was kind of crazy. I wanted to take a picture, but then again, like I said, HIPAA violations, you can't do that. It's info. I mean, I guess I just told you about it, but I don't work there. I'm allowed to tell you. But that has to do with like microbiology and like biomechanics and stuff like that. So
Right. No, that was a really good experience for you guys too.
yeah.
Nick, what about you? What has your SOI experience been like so far, and what programs have you been involved in?
My SOI experience has been really good. I came into school not wanting to sit there and actually learn and participate and stuff, but being a part of Mr. Matt's classes, he got me to where I actually like doing projects and opening up my more creative side. And because he's always pushing and pushing, and some students don't like being pushed around like that, but at the end of the day, it helps you pull out your creativity and all that different type of stuff. And then I am currently in the drum program, and I was in the welding. The welding experience was one of my favorites because we had our welding instructor, Lynn. He was a great guy, and he taught us a lot of different things. He showed us a lot of different things. The projects we did in that class was amazing. Like, I have my own private jet sitting on top of my fridge that I welded, and just a bunch of. I have my toolbox. We make toolboxes. We've made the eagle that Makai was talking about. That was the one big class projects that we actually got to work on because we was going to make a, what was it? Like a wildcat's head.
Yeah, like a wildcat. Yeah.
Yeah, we was going to make that, but then it was too late in the year to actually start working on that. So we just scrapped that project, and then we had some students who would do their own things in the welding classes. There was projects that he would try and teach us. But overall, it was just a great experience in the welding program.
What when you were in welding, tell me like what your day was like. So you would be at SOI for a little bit, and then so explain that.
So if you happen to be in like the welding or carpentry, you would start out your day normally. You would go to your first, second, third, fourth class, and then you would go to lunch, and then instead of you going to your fifth, sixth, and seventh, you would instead go to the dome and take those courses here.
Do you feel like that helped kind of break up the day for you? Did
Yeah,
that make it like something you were looking forward to?
Yeah. So doing that, it actually made the year go by a lot faster, in my opinion, because it was always like 2 days a week, something to look forward to instead of just sitting inside of a classroom just learning. So you would do that. Then on the days that we would go weld, we would be like, all right, it's going to be a good day because we get to go hang out and just
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Right. It was a little more.
You're not going to like.
You were relaxed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a change of environment where you were still accomplishing a goal.
Yeah, and luckily, a teacher at SOI teaches math, upper grade math, and so we learn about trigonometry, which welders and carpenters use. We learned how to read like a ruler, which is like if you were to have a ruler in your pocket like every day, you would know how to read a ruler. You know immediately. This table, you know it. Probably not as big as a ruler, but yeah.
Brian, I want to go to you for a second because you have seen kind of both sides of this. You have seen SOI kind of before there was all of this programming and all of these opportunities for kids, and then SOI kind of post these opportunities. Tell me what you think about all of these doors, that this has opened for these students.
Well, I mean, these guys are perfect examples of what these doors open. I remember each of these guys in my class when I first had them. They were quiet, didn't want to talk, and just kind of just sat there. And now if you look at them, they're on a podcast for the school district, talking, sharing their stories, going into the Navy, setting up a career, getting every sort of possible thing that can be done so he can figure out what he wants to do, being a leader in the school, being a leader in the school now, working on getting an internship with the Federal Aviation Administration for the summertime to work with their STEM program through the government. So it's like just seeing what we had done at the School of Innovation, like this idea that we had of like, okay, we want students to have a hands-on learning experience, be able to build these things, build these projects, learn how to authentically show what they know, something that's actually meaningful for them, that's going to build life skills for them, give them those skills to be successful in the workplace. Now we've taken it to the next step where they get to take those things that they've done in the classroom and apply it to an industry field that they're passionate about. So like Makai with patient care, with welding, with drone, they get to take all those things they learned and then see, okay, I've done it in the classroom. This is how it operates in the workforce. So it's just been really cool to see them and see that growth in them.
Absolutely.
You guys are examples of that growth.
Oh, it's hard for me to even remember, right? Because of the exponential growth that has occurred, right? If you talk to administrators over at SOI, like there's now a wait list for kids who want to be part of this and who want to get involved in this programming, because that's what kids want. You know what I mean? Like they want to have these experiences. They want to break up their day. They want to have those hands-on experiences, and I think that's great.
While I was on paternity leave, I know needed help with some photography here at the Dome.
Yeah.
And two of my drone students, Leland being one of them, came over here.
Yes, jump.
And I got pictures. I got to see pictures of them doing that and just how professional they were.
Yes.
And so for me, that was one of like my proudest moments. Was like, okay, everything we've talked about in class, like with these drones, like that they aren't toys, that they aren't just tools, but they are literally aircraft. Like they went through the steps. I heard that they were like doing pre-flight procedures and checklists. Because one of the things we always focus on is safety. And so like just hearing, even without me being there, they knew how to do that they were professional, that they were communicating with each other using the vernacular that we had practiced, keeping it professional, what they call a sterile workspace. They were able to get the job done, and they came back and told me about it. I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like they knew what to do, and like they were able to go and be professional. They were able to go and use those actual safety and risk management skills, crew resource management that we talk a lot about, and actually do a project. It was so cool to be a part of and actually get to hear.
Absolutely. And if you can remember, I think a lot of people still kind of have this perception that SOI is still somehow like related to Kiefer and what Kiefer was as an alternative school. And like they still have this problem, like breaking those, that connection. And I think that all of the wonderful things that are happening there help to separate it and create its own narrative and its own story. For those who are watching and listening who may not be aware, like SOI is our second high school option for our kids. So it's just a smaller setting. There are no different qualifications. The kids can just choose to go there if they want a different project-based setting, smaller setting. So, how do you think that this kind of helps to make SOI's own story, I guess?
Absolutely. Well, what's awesome is that all of that is part of our history. And I think being Kiefer and having those experiences made us who we are today. I mean, so much of what that school was and getting to work with those students allowed us to develop a sense of understanding, a sense of empathy, It challenged us as educators to be like, okay, how can I work with a student who's struggling and get them to show their knowledge in an authentic way that's maybe different than what a standard classroom would have. And then that got the staff to be like, okay, well, let's do this as a whole. Let's do this project-based learning. And so then we were like, okay, well, let's become a project-based learning school. And so then that kind of became our identity. And then our identity was like, okay, we have these projects. We have these kids that are fully engaged. How can we now take it to another level, which is how can we give them real workspace, real life, authentic learning opportunity? And we're like, let's create these programs. Let's create carpentry. Let's create welding. Let's create an unmanned aircraft systems class where they get to fly these things and practice what they do actually out with the company. Let's create phlebotomy and patient care. So like it's all of that has developed in who we are. And so what's awesome is that so much of what I think was hard for people to separate with Kiefer is that so many people, when they went there, it was like, that was like who they were. And now this is who we are. And so many of these kids, and these guys are perfect examples that like, this is who we are. And these kids are like proud, like Leland and all these guys are actually part of what they call the Lighthouse team. And they're responsible for like working with the students to come up with the identity of the school through the hallway, teaching the 7 habits of highly effective people to the students. And so they're creating this identity of SOI. And so it's a place that they're like, this is my home. This is my school. This is the place that I'm going to leave my mark, my legacy. And so what's so cool is that now these guys are the foundations of that new legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of
Really well stated.
real life opportunities, I remember, I don't know if it was my freshman year or my sophomore year. You told us about Neuralinks or Neuralinks, and like how if you were to smell something while you're learning something like geology, you would, next time you smell that smell, like say it's an eraser, like next time you smell an eraser, like the geology would kind of like pop up in your head, and so
You used to make us remember rhymes in order to.
yeah,
grab
exactly.
information.
Yeah. And so like I kind of do it differently. Like I'll do it with random things. What I'll do is like if I have a pencil and I'm in bed, I'll toss the pencil over, and then I'll wake up and I'll see the pencil. I'm like, oh wow, I had a test today, and that's also been really, really cool.
You guys have touched on it a little bit, but I'm really curious about what is next for each of you and kind of allowing you to speak in your own words about like where you see yourselves going next.
Well, and let's say like I really want to be an entrepreneur. I'll think about
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other day I was sitting down and learning about business opportunities and like how to be like an online businessman. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a construction worker, and so I've been looking at Danish, and then the welding, I'm also looking at McGregor, and then seeing these people across the street, I went over there, and when I was talking about the water heater, I went over there and I helped them take the water heater out of the basement. And so like I think that touches up on the Danish construction, and so whatever gets me to being a millionaire or like a billionaire, that's what I have in mind, because I just know it. I know it.
Leland, what's up with you? What do you think? Where do you see yourself going?
All right, so when I first began the school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and as I progressed throughout school, I was talking to Matt, and one of the things I've always wanted to do was cook. Well, he told me that I had an option. I could stay at the school and pursue the things that they had offered there. I could go off to CTC and pursue cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I did, I made the choice to come back to SOI simply because I like cooking. It's one of my passions. However, I don't see myself there in a couple years or so. And right now, I do believe I'm going into drone, but I'm not like just going to go out and fly drones and stuff like that. I will be like starting my own business with drones, so I can go fly for bigger businesses.
Like commercial realtors and
With
stuff
that,
like that.
there's a part 108 that's coming out about commercial like things of being able to use drones and stuff like that as well.
Awesome. You can make a lot of money. Maybe you can hire Mackay.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you?
So
Military?
yeah, so I came to School of Innovation, never wanting to learn none of that I had no idea what kind of career I was wanting to do either. So once I took the welding class, it like some things got put on my radar, like underwater welding, which is originally what I wanted to go do. And then I found out the long term effects and like the toll it puts on your body and life expects I can't say that word. Like I was told by my own recruiters, underwater welding is a dangerous job because of how big of a toll it puts on your body. So I decided to still try welding, and then I ended up volunteering and ended up on a submarine, where I'll spend the next 5 years of my life.
That's awesome.
And then once I'm done with that, depending on how I feel about the Navy, I might re-enlist.
Brian, it's got to make you feel good to hear like each of them have a plan.
Yep.
And have a legitimate plan. You know what I mean? All of them guided, because that's what you want as an educator, right? All of them to leave your nest and know what they're doing.
That's what makes me the most proud is like, again, I remember when all these guys came into my class, and then just getting to work with them. And, I think about the things that our school gets to provide. So like with welding with Nick, like there's things that he can do that he's probably never thought of. If he's on a submarine, he can come back home up in Maine. We actually have a family friend who he works on submarines for the Navy, welding. So like just that opportunity. Makai, who would have never thought he was going to be an entrepreneur, never liked to talk to people. And now like you watch him on this and then, he has this drive and this passion now. And like Leland, who now has this new drive and passion for business with drone. And like, it makes us so proud that like, we got to be a part of that, So that's what I look forward to every day, coming in and just seeing these guys, seeing their growth, have them come up and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. How can you help me? Like, so.
I feel like we more or less a family at SOI now that, like, the years go by. The
Once you go
student
along.
and teacher bonds just connect so well.
Yeah, the ratio, everybody knows everybody. Yeah, the opportunity, there's so many opportunities that I never thought I would get to do if I went to the high school.
Well, it's just really cool to like hear them talk about
right?
and just be excited about things.
I
You know
think
what I
that's
mean?
what makes it different. It's like these are high school students,
Right.
Like not college students. Like they're high school students that are like taking this accountability, that are like have this drive and this motivation and
Right.
this excitement. That's so cool.
Well, I really appreciate all of you agreeing to come on here and make time out of your day. I just really like hearing about everything that y'all are doing and are going to do in the future. I know Mr. Prine and I are really excited for you. Ms. Lee and I are excited for you, and we're certainly cheering you on. So again, thank you so much for all of your time, and we'll be right back with more Cat Chat.
All right, welcome back to Cat Chat. I'm your host, Chris Wallace, and this is our segment where we feature a featured alumni person of the month. And today we have Dr. Karlos Marshall. How are you today, sir?
Hey, doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Karlos has been a stellar of the community. Has been in an interesting time of Springfield growing up, and we're gonna get into a little bit of that. So let's go ahead and start there. Give me what was it like growing up as a teenager in Springfield? And I believe you were part of the merger of Springfield High School from North and South.
Yeah.
So give me your intake on growing up in Springfield and what was it like as far as being a city school student and being a part of that merger going from North and South to Springfield High School.
Yeah, absolutely. I really experienced a lot of the new builds of the construction. Springfield High was the first school that I got to attend that was part of the new construction. I went to the old Gray Hill that was torn down.
Yeah.
I went to the old Clark and then that was rebuilt and became a preschool. So I didn't get to experience that. So the new merger was the first time. So, I got to experience South High close its doors as a junior in 2007, 2008. And that was a great time, man. South High was a very close knit community, being right here, in the heart of the South Side. Obviously, the historical architecture of the building, and just it's just family here is the best words that I could use to describe South. Just still hanging out with all your buddies from the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and being engaged in sports, and definitely has some quality mentors, particularly coaches and teachers and things of that like. And then, senior year was the merger of Springfield High between South and North, and just remember a lot of conversations and anxiety in the community about what that would look like. And it surely was pretty interesting times when we first merged those two schools. But for the most part, those were still young men and young women that we had crossed paths with or played with in youth sports leagues at one point or time or another. So I never really felt any type of rivalry, animosity in that nature, and I thought that everybody was pretty excited to be under one roof again. So absolutely fantastic times, from the academics to the athletics to the co-curriculars. Really prepared me well going into college.
Absolutely. Give me a little, okay, we talked about that transition as far as being in the school buildings and some of the anxieties. Talk about Springfield, Ohio, outside of there. What was it like growing up as a teenager? Did you see a change? Did you foresee some things now, that things you see now, like, oh, it started to change back then? What was it like growing up outside of here, outside of school buildings and in the neighborhoods?
Yeah, I think Springfield, like a lot of other urban communities, we have our various issues and challenges with poverty, with some levels of crime, just lack of employment and job opportunities. And Springfield is one of those cities it's large enough to have all of the issues of a major urban city, whether it's in Ohio or outside, but it's small enough that you readily see the ripple effects of that. And growing up, I was blessed to come from a 2-parent household. Growing up in the southwest quadrant of Springfield, back there in Fair Vista neighborhood by Davie Moore Park, and I always say, I could walk out in my driveway and see the softball fields of Davie Moore Park. So Davie Moore Park really helped raise me, and that's why I was so appreciative when you bought the vision to really revitalize and revamp that with the court over there with National Trails and Park and Recreation District. That meant a ton. But really, had 2 older brothers, so really just grew up outside.
Yeah.
And that does provide you a certain level of fortitude and grit. Growing up, navigating the streets of Springfield, which nowadays, having a son of my own, you got to be a little bit more cautious in terms of where you allow your kids to roam around without parental supervision. But yeah, my parents were really that guiding force, and I think Springfield is one of those cities that if you're not careful, you can get caught up. One bad mistake here or there, and as athletes and guys that might not be on the right path, those are really those groups sometimes run very closely together. And so again, by the grace of God and my family, I was able to stay on that righteous path.
Absolutely. And that brings me right into where you're at now. Okay. Tell us a little bit about where you're at and the impact of what you just spoke about. How did that impact you to be where you're at now?
Yeah, for me, I think, honestly, growing up here, my mentality was pretty similar to a lot of students at the time, about just wanted to make it out. Let me get out of Springfield.
If I can just get out, I promise I'll come back and help.
Let me get out of there.
Right.
And I had that opportunity, playing ball at Springfield High. I played an Ohio North-South All-Star game in the Horseshoe. Had a full ride Division II scholarship at Mercyhurst College now, Mercyhurst University, Division II school. And for my parents, they was like, our youngest son, like full ride, like only thing I was paying for was books. They was like, we made it.
Yeah.
This is what we worked for.
Wanted.
And that freshman, that summer going into freshman year in college, I found out that I was going to have a son. And so, that was a tough time. My parents were really transitioning, going through a divorce at that time. I had been in a 2-parent household my whole time. And, I know a lot of students come from single family household, but that's a shocker when you don't know anything different, right?
Absolutely.
So it was a very tough time for me. So I go to Mercyhurst College and play that freshman year. I mean, even the first game 1, I'm on the travel roster playing Wayne State in Michigan. But at a point in time, after my son was born, it was just too much. I know that I had to come back home and have and be there for my son as my father was for me.
Marshall man.
Yeah, yes, sir. And that really changed the trajectory of my life, quite honestly. And then went to Wittenberg, met some, Dr. Julius Bailey was really monumental in terms of just my intellectual growth and being able to express myself as a Black man, quite honestly, in the things that I had experienced growing up here on the South Side. And then my mentality became not to leave Springfield, but to make Springfield a better place. And, we all know that we're all products of our environment, but you can also make your environment become a product of you. And that's, really become my life's mission and vocational calling. And, just proud that and happy to be a servant for the Lord in that manner in the work that we do out in the community.
Absolutely. Spoke of Dr. Julius Bailey. Shout out Dr. Julius Bailey.
Shout out.
Doing a lot of great things around here for our children as well, and continuing to mentor other young men and women to be able to take your place as you move on into bigger and better things as well. Tell me about another mentor that maybe gave you an impact on pushing you towards the person you are right now. I heard your father, I heard Dr. Julius. Is there is there a key teacher that kind of puts you on that path of being consistent on the path of where you're at right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say really just a multitude of coaches. And when I was younger, we would have different speakers come into the schools. I'm like 5th, 6th grade, and or middle school, and these motivational speakers would talk about the need for a mentor, or just and at that point in time, I'm thinking like a mentor, like I don't need a mentor. And now in hindsight, I realize that because my dad was always there. But at the time, I really didn't realize how big of a role coaches were playing in my life as mentors, and specifically as positive male role models. And I remember that in hindsight, I'm just looking at them at the time as just being just coaches. It's just purely athletics, but we're seeing the way that they're moving. There might be correcting rowdy behavior, just telling you how to move and navigate life. So a multitude of coaches were really monumental to me in that regard. John Cups, I still talk to him to this day. Very, very solid guy. Obviously, all of the Delapinas were very monumental to me as well. So that kind of sticks to me. And even growing back to my early childhood days, the Story brothers, Doug and Paul Story. You probably know their son, Julius Dougie. And we had a competitive baseball team that we played from all the way from early kids pitch to when we went to high school. Springfield Four Warriors was the name of our team, and we through those opportunities we got to travel across the country and play in competitive tournaments. And again, it's now looking back on that was really monumental, because a lot of kids our age that came from similar predicaments, they didn't get to travel. Right. we were going out of state playing in competitive baseball tournaments every weekend. And they they had a sponsorship from Springfield Ford Warriors. At the time, now having my own nonprofit with the Conscious Connect, I understand that fundraising part. But at the time, I knew we were sponsored by Springfield Ford. Shout out to Eric Collins' dad, who was the owner at the time. Eric Collins being a 2010 alum of Springfield High. But I didn't know where the money was coming from. I just knew that we had these opportunities when we were playing in these games. And just spending that time and that close-knit, and, man, just about everybody from that team. Kevin Price was on those teams. Just about all of us, ended up and went on to obtain college degrees. So, I look back on that time, and, that was really monumental for me.
That's awesome. You spoke about your nonprofit, Conscious Connect. Tell us about that. Tell us about the Conscious Connect. You guys are doing amazing things, and I'm hearing a lot of relation to what you grew up in, the neighborhood you grew up, how you envisioned it, and now where you're at. You have a foundation that can actually affect the same neighborhoods and the streets that you got to run around as a kid, and you're able to affect it in a positive manner. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Conscious Connect started out as a grad school project at the University of Dayton. At the time I was feeling a little bit lost just being in the academy. Knew I wanted to do something a little bit more, being entrenched and embedded in community with our people. And, I was in a master's of public administration class. We were supposed to do a SWOT analysis on a local nonprofit. And I told the professor, hey, I'm thinking about starting my own nonprofit. Do you mind if I modify this assignment? And he agreed to that. That ended up becoming the white paper for the Conscious Connect. I come back to Wittenberg for a homecoming. I pitched a concept to my dear brother Moses. And he's like, oh, yeah, let's do it. You do it. And, the original vision of the Conscious Connect was to spark a world-class cultural renaissance and neighborhood revitalization movement. And we're getting into those things now. But initially when we launched, we didn't want to just dictate to the community what it was going to look like. We wanted to go ask people. We spoke to faith-based leaders, to parents, to school leaders, to business owners. At that particular time, everybody was focused on the third grade reading guarantee. And so that's how the Conscious Connect got into literacy and giving books with barbershops, the Houses of Knowledge, little free libraries, the Words on Wheels book bike was filling a community need. And I think that's the important thing when you're moving with purpose and stepping into your calling, is that you have to be receptive to hear what that actually need is, to respond to it. And now we've been really blessed and thankful to partner with the Clark County Land Bank and acquire vacant and dilapidated properties, and really spearhead them and revitalize them into neighborhood pocket parks with basketball courts, benches, trees, things of that nature. In which coming up on April 20th, which is the 9-year anniversary of the Conscious Connect, we're going to be erecting Ohio historical marker for Solly James, who was one of Springfield's first African American lawyers and civil rights activists at 1615 Woodward Avenue. So we're just proud just that we're able just to shed light and give flowers to people in our community that deserve them. And obviously working with my brother's keeper, just the impact that we're able to have there, and under the guidance of your leadership and spearheading that on a daily basis, and just being able to touch so many kids is really what we're all about. And we look forward to continuing to work with small businesses, particularly on the South Side. And then, the last thing I'll say is that people can also look forward to the Conscious Connect getting very aggressive in the housing space to solve the need for affordable housing here in the immediate future.
That's amazing. You are the epitome of being part of the solution and not the problem.
Appreciate it.
You recognize the issue. You hear the people in the community, and you don't just talk about it, you act on it. So I appreciate that, and being able to be in somewhat of a connection with you with that means a lot to me as well.
Likewise.
Yes, sir. Last thing. If you were talking to Karlos Marshall, not Dr. Karlos Marshall.
Yeah.
Karlos Marshall, that's 16 years old.
Yeah.
And Dr. Marshall
Mhm.
gets to talk to Karlos Marshall at 16 years old.
Mm.
What would the advice you would give him? What would be the advice?
Man, this might be surprising, but where I am now, I would say probably to show myself more grace. And the reason why I say that is because my father was an extremely hardworking man. I watched him just work countless overtimes and stuff to be able to provide above and beyond the means that any of us needed growing up, and I've carried that forward. And that shows up in my work, it shows up in my life. But now I'm trying to enter into a different phase in my life where I've stepped off of some boards. I start saying no to some committees because probably about 3-4 months ago, I seen on Twitter or X, it was a specific tweet. I can't remember the exact percentage, but it said something to the extent that by the time when your kids turn 18, you will have spent 80 to 85% of your time with them in person for your entire life. And I'm like, my son is 14 years old. And so I'm like, that clock is dwindling. Your kids go off to college. If you're lucky, they come back home, or if they don't, then those moments are few and far in between in terms of holidays and stuff like that, breaks. And so, I'm my own worst critic. It's almost like a gift and a curse, but that is the kind of things that advance and propel you to excellence. Is that you're operating on your own standard, and the standard is the standard, and you don't operate and waver from that. But I am realizing that there is times that I should show myself more grace, and just taking more care of my body, to be here for the long haul. And a person said to me recently, you don't have any success unless you have somebody to be your successor. And so that's what I'm working on right now, and just building generational wealth, and also being able to make sure that the Conscious Connect, MBK, whenever it's time for us to go or step down, that there's somebody to pass it on to. And you can't build it all in one day. So just showing myself grace, and taking everything in stride, really.
It's awesome. Tell the public and the viewers how can they find the Conscious Connect or get a hold and see what's really going on and get in depth.
Absolutely. You can definitely find the Conscious Connect on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter or X, Instagram, at the Conscious 2_, and also at theconsciousconnect.org.
Dr. Karlos Marshall, it has been a pleasure. I thank you for coming, and it was an amazing story, and I hope the viewers really enjoyed it as well as I did.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you,
sir.
We'll be right back from Cat Chat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Cat Chat. This is the Community Connection segment. I am joined by two very special guests today. I have Dr. Tigola from the Rocking Horse Center. She is the Chief Executive Officer over there. And I have Dr. Hill, our superintendent here at Springfield City School District. And they're here to talk about a very special project happening here within our district. You've probably heard by now some rumblings, maybe some physical rumblings over at Springfield High School for our new school-based health center. This is something really exciting that's going on within our district, involving both of these entities, with the school district, with Rocking Horse. So thank you both for agreeing to come on Cat Chat to talk about this project. I really first want to get started just at the base of it all. What is a school-based health center at its core? What is the mission, the vision, really at the root of it? What is it?
You want to start us off, Dr. T?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about something we have been really excited about, and something that has proven to bring good outcomes. So when communities come together and when entities come together in a community with a common mission and vision, just like you were saying, Jenna, I think it's important to highlight those because we always tend to look at things that don't go well, but when something is going so well and something is coming into fruition, I think it's important. At its core, a school-based health center, in my opinion, as a physician or even as somebody that has seen children all my life in my career, it is the mission or the core of a school-based health center is to provide care for children right where they are, which is in a setting where they're safe and where they're familiar. And the mission of it, truthfully, is to not only bring good health outcomes, but actually bring good academic outcomes because it almost takes away the biggest barrier in schools that serve a lot of underserved kids and entities that serve a lot of underserved kids because you are actually able to meet with the kid in an environment that they're already growing, right? And that's truthfully how they become so successful because school plays an integral part in the growth and development of a child other than the home environment. So as a provider, if I have a dream come true of being able to talk to two entities, the family as well as the school, right there, I really think I would do justice or the provider would be able to do justice to that child, understanding all the factors. So that's what the core of it should be, and it is.
So, how did we arrive at a place where we said, we want something like this at Springfield City School District?
So during our last strategic planning processes, one of the things that we did was create a survey for both the community, parents, and staff members. We received over 2,100 responses to that survey, which really is unheard of in a strategic planning process. One of the outcomes of the survey was the desire for a school-based health clinic. If you look at statistics throughout Springfield, many of our families, due to the high level of poverty, end up not having primary care physicians. They end up seeking a high portion of their care through the emergency room or through minute clinics or urgent care clinics. And that's really not conducive to good health outcomes and to the core mission like Dr. Teagle talked about. So with that input from the community, we decided let's find a partner and create our own school-based health clinic to help address those needs. Statistics will also show, and Dr. T alluded to this, but there's a strong correlation between academic performance and health. If our students aren't healthy and they don't come to school healthy, they're not going to be at their best academically and they're not going to achieve the maximum potential that they can. So why not bring something on site where we can partner with a known community entity that has that partnership with the families, that same partnership with we have, that is then going to lead to better health outcomes as well as better academic outcomes.
Absolutely. And, Dr. T, I can only imagine, if that's something that we are hearing from our parents that, we don't have access to enough healthcare. I can only imagine that that's only amplified, with things that you are seeing in your community, that there's just not enough access to healthcare in our greater Springfield community.
I'll just give you a very small example. I came to know yesterday that our current wait list for children, which is less than 18, is 400. And we were like, okay, how are we going to address that? And what is the strategy, right? So we try to tell people, it feels like a compliment. Yes, true. I mean, they want to come and access our health center. That's true, but still the mere idea or the sheer volume of thinking that. So yes, it's always there, right? It's always there to understand that there is the demand.
Right.
So, but again, if we work not in silos, but very cohesively,
Yes.
I'm pretty positive that we can provide the access if we are strategic. Because I think Springfield is a very hard-working community. I really think entities work hard to kind of make this community stronger. But I think time has come to do some smart work rather than just the hard work. So smart work would be to prevent redundancies, to prevent duplication, and effective communication between organizations to say, oh, nobody needs to reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
So we just have to find the processes that work for the school district and that work for Rocking Horse and say, how can we really integrate to
Yeah.
provide the best care?
Absolutely. So, going back to what will be our school-based health center, what does that look like in terms of services that will be provided to people and who?
Yes, we anticipate, and at least we have slated so far. I mean, we'll be tickled to death if we open on the first day when the school opens and construction falls along the same timelines. What we are planning on in year one is to start off with both medical and mental health services, which itself is a very holistic primary care, right? You provide all medical services, so which means immunizations, well checks, access for acute care visits, be it a sick visit, be it a headache or chronic condition management, making sure all the kids that are with asthma are at their best optimal control of their asthma. So it's a holistic care of the kid for their mind and body. So we really are going to have nurse practitioners, we are going to have mental health professionals, which would be a counselor, or we could even have some psychiatric support, which could be another health practitioner. But another important role that we agreed as two entities was to definitely have some patient advocacy or a community health worker that will act in the benefit of taking care of the social determinants, not just the clinical health, but also that part where are we making sure that they're having any housing issues? What are they dealing with when they go home
Gotcha.
that doesn't allow them to get to their optimal, be it academic or be it health, right? So if I had to break it down, it's going to be primary care. And under primary care, it'll be medical services as well as mental health services. But the non-medical part is truly caseworkers and community health workers and patient advocates. If our dream goes along and we keep chugging along, we are really interested to add things at a later fashion. We want to be humble. We don't want to take a bite that we can't chew. We want to enjoy the flavor. So
Sure.
I really think year 2 has a couple of other additional services we really would like to add. Year 3 would have a couple more, but in order to be successful, we really thought operational efficiency and starting with primary care would be the best way to go.
And this is for our students, families, and the greater Springfield community.
It is, yes. We're working on what those hours look like. School hours are obviously a must, but then when you look at the different groups, including families and parents, we're looking at some after hours type openings to serve that population.
Dr. Hill, if you could talk a little bit about, kind of the timeline of this a little bit. Dr. T, alluded to, ideally, we're looking at, first day of school, but, talk a little bit about how construction has kind of progressed over there and what that looks like.
We're getting very close very quickly. They have essentially framed everything up to this point in the bottom corner of the high school. There's a separate wall up now and a separate exit to get to the outside. Ideally, and according to our project planning, this will be up and running for the first day of school. Fall of 2024 is what we're shooting for, and I'm confident that we'll get there and be able to get it open.
Awesome. So, as people come by over there, certainly, they might expect, some physical changes to start occurring over there if they're in that environment every now and then. So, big changes are coming. Dr. T, as these changes start to come down the pipeline and people start to hear more about this, how do they start to make those determinations between when do I use the school-based health center? When do I use a school nurse? When do I use my family doctor? How do they have those conversations between their family?
Absolutely. I really think, again, as I said, it all depends on how well we integrate first.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that's the key. The key is families shouldn't even know anything different when they look from outside that we are two different entities. And we have talked very good conversations. We're all in agreement at the senior leadership level to say that to a family, we are one.
Mm-hmm.
They should never think that's the city school, this is Rocking Horse. We are one. We are the school-based health center. And that's what we intend to do. I think as far as families go, I really think Since Rocking Horse is the provider, we really would like to make that health clinic their medical home. Right? I'm not a big fan of us becoming an urgent care. We can definitely help with that, but I really think it's to establish care and make sure that they can go forward getting the care. One other beautiful thing, just like what Dr. Hill said, he was talking about we are already a known entity. Another unknown to the community probably is we already serve a lot of kids that go to the city school district. So the providers that are already working are excited saying that, oh, I can see the kids there, right? Because I think that's the key, especially for mental health. You're right in that setting. Get the kid out of class, see them, put them back, no missed school. So that's another thing. But I think the determination should fall on us, not on the family. The least confusing you make it to the family, the better success for them to utilize us. So it's our responsibility. I keep calling it my pre-workout. So we need to do the vaccines work. So when you tell the family, you just tell them, you just call, we'll take care of it. The second most important thing is that we are going to heavily rely on the excellent nurses that are already in the schools, because they are the ones that know the kids. We want to be humble. We want to walk in, establish good relationships with them so that they will be the triage people. When a kid says they're sick, they don't know Rocking Horse yet. The school nurse is the one that they're going to talk to. So that we will mesh so well with the school nurses that the school nurse can pick up the phone to our clinic and say, hey, I have a kid. I don't know. I mean, we can watch for 30 minutes. Can I just send them over so you can check them out so we're not missing something? So it's tiering system, when to give advice, when to actually do something, when to let the parent know. So I think if we mesh well and create some processes, I really think families should feel it no different and seamless.
Awesome. Great explanation. I really just want to close by going back to something that you both stated earlier, was this is really all about the connection between physical health and academic health, some other aspects of our students and family life, and how all of those kind of correlate together. So if you guys could just kind of finish by stating how you feel about that, the importance of that, and how all of that is going to kind of come down the line later once this project gets rolling.
Sure. There's so many social determinants that play into a student's academic and really health success from that standpoint. And if you look at students and they're well, both physically and mentally, they're more apt to come to school. That's the starting point. One of the greatest detriments, I think, that occurred to education during the pandemic was school attendance. And we're still struggling at this point to get students to school healthy, ready to learn, ready to be mentally well and move forward. So if you think about a school-based health clinic and the different services that we're able to offer, we can really start to combat the different social determinants in our city that are associated with poverty, that are associated with that lower socioeconomic standing, making them more well, if you will, and more successful academically.
Absolutely.
On my end, as a healthcare provider, the deep-seated frustration of having a kid not come to their appointment, somebody falling behind on their immunizations and well visits, and only accessing us at the neck of the moment. We just are excited that our no-show rate would go down, and we don't have to hear from the parent that they didn't have a transportation thing that they could bring the kid, or like we would take away all those barriers, and we don't have to write school notes for the entire day.
Right.
So we can just say, you 15-minute visit, 30-minute visit, got a consent from the parent, all is well. And I know COVID brought a lot of disadvantage, but one advantage it brought is the tele visits. So we can have the parent up on the computer, the kid is in here, we can finish the visit, they've consented, they know the treatment plan, kid goes back to class, and life goes on. And I really think as a provider, that's the frustration that, oh my God, they no-showed again, they're a 5-year-old, where are their vaccine? We don't have to go through that. And we can definitely say we are coming to you. So.
Well, and there's also the beauty of the consistent care, consistent primary care, knowing that the families and students are seeing their own primary care physician as opposed to urgent care or the emergency room. That really adds continuity to the process, and I think creates a model to help everyone.
And reduces the overall healthcare cost. ERs and urgent, they're not meant to. So, I mean, the hospital is going to be one of the beneficiaries too, because it's going to really help them not to see the I wouldn't call but unjudicial use of the ER.
Yes.
So I really think if we all can work together, again, it's a big commitment on large entities to say that we're going to do this all right so that the families can feel this seamless.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add before we wrap?
I'm very thankful that the city school district thought of Rockinghorse as a good partner to work this on, because we already see majority of those kids, and it's been really good for us to work with the school district. We always had a great relationship, but this is going to take it to the next level.
Agreed, and we are very thankful for Rocking Horse. We've had a long-standing partnership with the clinic at the School of Innovation, knowing that the majority of the students that are going to Rocking Horse are our students, and now we're going to be able to expand those services into our own house. I think that's just groundbreaking.
Absolutely. Well, for everybody watching or listening, you can follow construction updates on our website, scsdoh.org, under the Facilities Updates tab. There is the School-Based Health Center little button, and we have construction update photos. You can read more under the FAQ document about this project. So inform yourself, follow along. This is a really exciting project that you're going to want to stay up to date on. Thank you, Dr. T. Thank you, Dr. Hill, for coming on Cat Chat.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Well, Ron, that's almost a wrap for this month's episode of Cat Chat. What did you think so far of this month?
It was wonderful. I think we had another great episode with great guests, great hosts, bringing in some astounding information for our families and for our district. So what do you think?
I'm a little biased, right? Because I always like to hear from the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really fun for me to always hear, I guess specifically about just what they're getting, right, from this experience being with us. And just to hear their excitement, see the light in their eyes when, they talk about something specifically that they've learned or something they're looking forward to. And I think that was really evident when the SOI kids were, talking about their experiences. So I really liked that. But I really liked all of our guests.
All of our guests were wonderful.
It's like picking your favorite child.
Exactly, that's tough. But to your point, our students are bringing in some of the excitement that they have over at their school and the programs that they're involved in there. So that really should bring a great light to not only our folks within the district, but also our community. So it's all exciting.
Right. I mean, and then, you can't really say enough about the school-based health center and what that's going to do for our students and our families.
Definitely.
And I can't even imagine yet what's to come that I can't even fathom yet,
Well, again, listen to Dr. Teagle, listen to Dr. Hill and all the things they're talking about. There's just so much to get started on, but we know there's a lot more in the works down the road too. So all of our families and our community is going to really benefit from this opportunity.
Right. I mean, at this point, all I see right now is framing up. But, it'll be really fascinating to look 2, 3, 4 years back and remember this time right now.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm looking forward to all of that. And, we'll be able to look back and say, oh, remember when we were just talking about that on Cat Chat and, it was still just kind of a forming idea. So.
Yeah, and one of the episodes we're expanding more on what's going on out there at the School-Based Health Center. Also got to give a big shout out to Dr. Karlos Marshall for him coming in. That's one of our astounding alumni and all the work he's doing over at Conscious Connect, his affiliation with the school district, the community, and he's just doing some amazing stuff over there.
Yes, absolutely. And don't forget, y'all, we want to know about all of these other alumni who we know are out there who could be featured on Cat Chat. So you can always send us an email, podcast@scsdoh.org. If you have any alumni ideas or just any other segment ideas, drop us a line, whatever, and we'll be happy to consider those for future segment ideas. And don't forget about those Instagram direct messages. I'm looking for them all the time. Anything else, Ron?
I think that's it, Jenna. Thank you again.
All right. Well, from Ron, myself, and Chris, that's all for this month's episode of Cat Chat. We'll see you next month, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.